Hi everyone. So we're getting close to the end of our virtual street scene project, and in this video I wanted to just show you how to improve the lighting within your scene a little bit more by converting something that you've either taken using a 360-degree panorama on your phone or taken a 360-degree panorama out of Google Street Images and convert it artificially up to a HDR image. So a high dynamic range image is an image that's generally 32-bit, and what it does is it contains high amounts of detail across the whole level of brightness. So right from down in the blacks, you'll find that there are subtle variations within the blacks, and right up into the whites there are subtle variations in the whites as well. Normally when we photograph something with the camera is not able to take in the full range of tonality in the image, so we need to choose where we want to have that maximum amount of detail, and often that's in the mid-tones if when we're shooting around during normal lighting conditions. But what we can do is we can bracket exposure with the camera so that we open the shutter for longer, so that we get more detail into the blacks, so we're sucking more light out of those dark areas, or we can close the shutter more quickly so that we can have subtlety in the bright section of it as well. So you might bracket a number of shots, a minimum of say 3 in a scene, and combine them together to create a HDR. What we're going to do is we're going to do an artificial version of that. If you want to take HDRs, it's a great thing to do. Check out online, obviously you'll find plenty of info on doing it, but we're going to create our own one, an artificial HDR today. So what we want to do, go to Photoshop, make sure we've got a recent-ish version of Photoshop. Okay, I'm on like CS6. So let's automate. So basically it's a script, and we'll get to that in a minute actually, because the first thing we've got to do is open, and we will need to open our downloaded 360-degree panorama. Okay, so here it is. Great, no worries. So we need to do a couple of things. We want to just go image adjustments, and we want to do an exposure adjustment, and I want to take this down to a -2. Okay, that's fine. Let it do that, and I'll just go save as Street View Test. So that's just my naming convention, and you can go EV -2. Okay, so our exposure on that one is -2. That's good. We'll leave it up on max there. Okay, that's good. Saved out, all done. So let's just go open again, and let's open that original street view again. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to go image, adjustments, exposure, and I'm just going to set the exposure as 2. Go OK. That's good. Save as. Keep it all in a nice tidy folder there so it's easy to track. EV, and I'll put a plus there. You don't have to put a plus, you can have 2, but +2 is better. Let's just go save. Okay, great. Okay, so we've done that with our images. So let's just close those, and then I'm just going to go automate, and we're going to merge to HDR Pro. Okay, so click on that, browse to our files that we want. We want those 3 files there. Open them up, and that's good. Okay, so let's tell it to get down to some action, and it brings in our files, has a bit of a general look at them, and it's now about to sandwich the 3 files into a single file that contains the detail, the best of detail between the high, the low, and the mid-tone. Okay, so it takes a bit of work to do that, and the software has to look at the tonal range of each file and decide on what it's going to do. Okay, so we just let it go there. It's nearly done, and it brings up a dialog box. Okay, and it needs to know how to treat each image in the sequence. So for this one, we know that the Street View 360 test hasn't got a plus or minus EV rating on it. So I'm going to click on EV here, and that'll set as the 0. Now I've got the -2, EV -2, which I'll just put in the file name to make my life easy. So I'll set that as a -2. Okay, and then I've got the overexposure, so I'll just click 2 on that, and okay, so that should be good. Now it's going to look at that. For some reason, if your OK doesn't light up, I'll just click back one image and it'll light up. So let's go OK, and now we've got ourselves an image. Okay, now I like to leave this in 32-bit because that gives us the best tonal range for this image, and we just slide this down. You can see this is sort of like an island. Okay, so slide this down to the lightest part, and then just a couple of clicks to the right will help to, really roughly tonally map this image in. Okay, so remember, we're making an artificial one, so yeah, it takes a little bit of guesswork. Okay, so you can see down the bottom, we've got our 3 images. We're all ready, so we're just going to go OK. Great, we'll let it create the file. This is going to take, probably a minute or so to create this. So just hang on. All right, we're nearly there. Okay, so I'm doing it on a MacBook Pro, and it's a recent one, but it's not super fast. Good computer, but I wish Apple would get a bit serious about making, really great desktops like they used to, and laptops. Okay, so here we go. We've got our image. It's all looking good. So we just need to save it out now as the right format. So I'm just going to go down to. I'll go save as, and I'm going to save it into this artificial HDR folder that I've got going on here, and the file format I want is a radiance. Okay, so radiance, and we can see here it's Untitled HDR2, so I'll just call it Street View 360 Test. Okay, so this file originally taken out of the off Google Sites. So let's just go save now. It's all looking good. Yep. Okay, again, it's a big file format, so we'll let it just do its thing. Okay, so that's good. So now let's come back to our scene. So here we are in a alleyway in Hobart, and I've got, well, it's got a bit of crazy stuff down there, but I've got it saved. You can see it's sort of an artificial scene in that the objects float around until I get them into a specific position, but that's fine at the moment. Okay, now I've got my nodes editor on. I've clicked on my world here, so it's telling me I want to, I'm telling the software that I want to be working with the world. The moment I've got, an existing HDR, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ditch that. Okay, so that's cool. You can see that Blender puts in this sort of bright magenta. That usually just means that we've got a texture slot that's open, but it has no image in it. I'm just going to click on the Open tab. I'm just going to come here to my Hobart Street Views, Artificial HDR, and I'm just going to look for the .hdr file, which I've got, and I'm going to open that in and let it do its thing. It shouldn't take very long. And it's a little bit more, you can see it's 173 meg in size, so it's a bit more complicated than the original files we built with it. And now if I look around, you can see that I've got a HDR mapping onto the surface of our world. It's spherical, and you can see I just added this big sort of shiny donut here, just so that you could see the reflections on the surface. Okay, so you can see it gives you a good result. The lighting looks a lot nicer actually, and yeah, it's just when you get into shadows and your highlights, you'll see that it treats them with a little bit more accuracy. So it's actually worth creating that artificial HDR. Okay, so that is the sort of getting close to the end of this project, if you want to keep refining it. But we will still have a look at how to animate objects within this HDR scene for a bit of fun, and yeah, how to save and print is the final step. But that's all for now. Thanks.